decided to come on tonight just to make an impromptu video. You know, I heard something today that just motivated my spirit even more. And it reminded me of my time when I was in the midst of grieving so hard. So I'm going to start out by reading a chapter of my book. It's chapter 7 called The Midnight Hour. And it says, sleep had left my body for months. I was still in a haze and wondering what was happening to my life. I laid down to rest and did everything I could think of to try and get some sleep. Nothing seemed to be working. The first few nights when I was awakened in the middle of the night, I would just lay there wondering how I got to this place. The nights afterwards, I would lay there and pray just a little. Days kept passing by, and I realized this is getting ready to be a regular awakening for a while. So I finally gave in, and I said, I'm not just going to lay here. Music was a healing agent for me during this time, so I would listen as I wrote and waited for God to speak to my heart. It was in the midnight hours that I could really hear the words because of the busyness of the day. This episode of my life was unplanned, and I had no choice or say in the matter. Death just seemed to have crept into my life without me being prepared. Now I'm going to pause right there for a moment. I think this video was prompted because I listened to Deion Sanders, and he yet again was saying what he'd gone through. He just overcame bladder cancer, or a bladder tumor. I'm sorry, I don't want to say it wrong. And his attitude was such a great one because he's all about glorifying God. And it's the same as I feel. You know, I was asked a question when I was going through my hardest pain of grieving the loss of a loved one. And I was asked the question, how can I still trust God? Well, I realized a long time ago that this life is not about me. It's about glorifying God. So I'm just a vessel being used by God. Now, he didn't have to take the trial of the death of my deceased spouse for me to get on here and be an encouragement to you. I had gone through other things, and I've always tried to give him the glory. But I listened to him today, and Deion Sanders, and he was saying he never asked God why he'd gone through the things he'd gone through. Because if he asked him that, he would have to ask him why he had so many blessings in his life. And I feel the same exact way. You know, now my story was a little different. When my husband passed, I did say, God, I don't understand. And for one quick second, I said, why me? But in the same breath, I say, Lord, forgive me. Who am I to tell you what to allow me to go through? Because if you allowed me to go through it, it's for a reason. You knew that I could get through it. And you knew that I would come out on the other side, still giving you the praise, still glorifying you. Because I told you a long time ago when I dedicated my life to you to glorify yourself through me. And the only way he can do it is sometimes allowing us to go through the fire. And that way when we come out, we can help someone else make it through it. So I was just so encouraged and motivated by listening to him. And my prayers go out to him for God's continued healing, for God to continue to shine in his life, and for God to continue to get the glory through all that he's doing. Because God is worthy of all of our praise. Regardless of what you've gone through today, regardless of your loss of your loved one, regardless of your loss of your marriage, regardless of your loss of your home or your finances, or whatever loss you've gone through, God is still worthy of all of our praise. If you still have breath in your body, then that means he wants you to live so that you can encourage someone else, so that you can be a testimony to someone else who's going through. So I'm going to continue my reading. The midnight hour seemed to be dark, and everything that was once familiar was gone. God had allowed some things and some people to be moved away from my surroundings at this point in my journey. I didn't understand what he was doing or why. I just knew he was at work somehow in my life. Although the pain in my heart felt like I was hurting beyond reason, I knew for sure that God didn't allow these circumstances to harm or overtake me. In life, we will all have some kind of midnight experience, whether it's a death of a loved one, a divorce, or some other type of loss. They all come with some type of emotions and pain. Your midnight hour could mean a loss in many different areas of your life. It could be loss of employment. Yes, it can be a death. It can be loss of a host of losses. It may sometimes feel that you're invisible. The friend you thought that would always be in your life now has a new circle of friends. Your heart may be very sad, but you finally come to the realization that you are in a different season in your life, and in order to win, you must embrace your new season, even if it seems like you're in a wilderness. So I'm talking to someone out here today. Even if you feel invisible, even if you feel alone, you're in a new season that God allowed you to be in. So let's always think about that and begin to ask the question, instead of why me, God, what do you want to get out of this? What should I learn out of this? And how can I glorify you by helping someone else? Begin to go with the flow in your midnight hour and realize almost everything around you is changing and something is happening in your atmosphere. You may not be able to force a smile yet. My question to God at this time was something like this: God, what are you doing, and how am I supposed to be at this time in my new reality? I just sat there in silence, feeling hopeless and waiting for a magical answer to solve my current problem. Then I remembered, change is inevitable. As long as we live here on this earth, there will always be change. Quickly, I learned to flow in the midst of darkness, and I allowed God to do his work in my life. This is the time when he was giving me an increase in my very soul because I availed myself. This was the only way I could go on, by allowing God's almighty power to rise up in me and to show himself strong and mighty through me, even with the tears. My praise on the inside was rising up again. It now felt like I would burst if I didn't let it out. My sleepless nights started because of the stress of losing my husband, along with the grief and pain that I was in. At the same time, a bigger purpose was trying to burst out. It's the season that was already chosen without my vote. I started going with the flow and watched God transform my new normal. Even though I lay on the floor and cried in agony, yelled, screamed, and cried some more while telling God this was too hard to deal with, it still didn't change the reality, and it certainly didn't bring my husband back. It was then I realized that no matter how much I yelled, screamed, or cried, it didn't change the season I was in. It's now time to stop asking why this happened to me and decide to live life to the fullest, because we don't know when our time will be up. I decided while I'm here, I didn't just want to exist, because that's worse than a physical death. Instead, I wanted to live life with a purpose to fulfill. In this life, sometimes everyone needs a good cry, but then you have to get up and live again. It's time to come out of the midnight hour and accept your change. After all, there's nothing you can do to turn things around. Once you embrace the season you're in, then you're ready to move forward. This is the season God wants to whisper his mysteries and secrets into your hearts. We need to quiet ourselves, wait on him, and rest in his presence. Be still and just listen to your heart. Allow yourself to be drawn closer to God. Stop trying to figure everything out and go with God's flow. Only in his presence can the answer be received. Our minds require some type of order to function properly. Our days are so busy we can't decipher much. That's why he chooses these midnight hours to bring about revelation and give us glimpses of his purpose for us. So I'll leave you with this, 1 Peter 5:7, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. So that chapter was titled The Midnight Hour. Again, it's from my book, Jilted, Abandoned, Deserted, Left Behind. But the bottom of it says, Embracing New Life. So I'm here to encourage you, no matter what you've gone through, it is time for you to embrace new life. God came that you might have life, and life more abundantly. It's time to live and not just exist.